Georgia, Israel, and World Jewry. 30 years, Aliyah, Hasbara, Israel Public Diplomacy and Cooperation. Yedioth Achronoth, 1989. The first representation of the WUJS, the World Union of Jewish Students in the USSR, opened in Tbilisi. The first international congress is held with the participation of Georgian representatives in Israel with the support of Israeli President Chaim Herzog, Yitzhak Rabin, and Jewish agency the Sochnut. The first representative of Israel office of the Jewish agency in the USSR opened in Tbilisi. In 1990, the first historical Congress of Soviet Jewry from 46 cities is held in Tbilisi. Since 1990, visits of world Jewish leaders to Tbilisi have begun, as well as the opening of representations in the Soviet republics. In 1992, the Israeli embassy in Georgia was opened. In 1994, the Israeli press named Itzik Moshe as one of the architects for the return of 500,000 Jews to their homeland. In 1996, bilateral economic cooperation began to be established and the Israel-Georgia Chamber of Business was opened. In 2017, the Israeli House became a member of AEPJ, the European Association for the Preservation and Promotion of Jewish Culture and Heritage, and created the European Route of Jewish Heritage, a new tool to attract world Jewry to Georgia. In 2013, the Israeli House was established, the concept of which includes two directions: Hasbara, Israeli public diplomacy, and direct bilateral connections. The Israeli House participates in the Council of Europe and the EAI, the European Alliance for Israel forums, and becomes an active member. The Israeli House, with the support of Government of Georgia, AEPJ, and the Council of Europe, participates in international forums in Poland, Romania, Czech Republic, Luxembourg, Spain, Norway, Israel, and more. The Israeli House is the initiator of bilateral official visits. Hosts and supports up to 20 parliamentarian visits in Georgia annually. There have been more than 200 pro-Israeli articles in the leading media of Georgia per year. Israel Week has been celebrated and an evening dedicated to Holocaust victims' remembrance has been held every year. Holocaust history is taught at 4 Georgian universities with the support of the Israeli House. Successful students received a scholarship and were sent to Israel. The Israeli Jewish Library was opened in the National Parliamentary Library of Georgia in cooperation with the Sarah Foundation, and the Israeli cabinets were opened at leading Georgian universities. The Israeli House has created a new method of Hasbara, public diplomacy for Israel, through grandiose events that has brought support from Israeli political and public circles. It is planned to implement the same model, Israeli House, in various countries. The Israeli House, along with members of the Knesset, have been able to change the format of bilateral relations vector, strengthening direct ties. Israel's contribution to the Georgian economy is around $1 billion, half of it, $500 million, through direct investments in Georgia through the help of the Israel-Georgia Chamber of Business, while the other half comes from Israeli tourism in Georgia. Tourism, a successful example of cooperation. Already in 2002, the Israel-Georgia Chamber of Business opened the Tourism Representative Office in Israel in cooperation with both governments, Israel and Georgia. Up until now, hundreds of articles and PR campaigns about Georgia. In the last years, the influx of tourists from world Jewry has begun. This year, there will be an annual growth of up to 30%, and the target will reach 200,000 tourists, which is $200 million for the Georgian economy.